My name is Netta O'Neill, and my presentation is about Supergirl. So why Supergirl? I was first very curious about the representation of a famous superhero's relative, and I was also very curious on how the world treats a woman with both a privilege and a disadvantage. The privilege in this case being that she's a white presenting female, while the disadvantage is that she's part of the category of the other and is also of lower class status. Additionally, I wanted to explore the reasoning behind the use of Supergirl instead of Superwoman, and in episode 1 of this season of Supergirl, this specific matter is discussed. The TV series of Supergirl is accessible on many different platforms by subscription. It's accessible on Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, Hulu, Apple TV, YouTube for $1.99, and Fandango at home. Supergirl dates back to 1984 when DC Comics first released the first film of Supergirl. And this was a crucial film in its time since it was a few years after the Equal Credit Opportunity Act of 1974. This act granted women the right of financial independence. This film was reflective of the stereotypes projected onto women of the past and modern-day society. It also granted women a new representation as a female lead in a high-ranking film. Supergirl's origins started from planet Krypton, where she was a princess and her mother and father were both the king and queen. Her full name is Kara Zor-El, and she is also Spider-Man's direct cousin. When their planet was doomed for destruction, both the king and the queen placed Superman in a ship and sent him off to Earth. They then followed along by doing the same with Kara, in order for her to protect her cousin from any dangers he might face on Earth. Yet their plan took another turn. Spider-Man's ship ended up arriving much earlier than Kara Zor-El's ship did, and Kara Zor-El's ship actually went into a Milky Way galaxy where it was lost there for about 13 to 20 years. When she arrived on Earth, she arrived to find Spider-Man already grown up and is a superhero. Spider-Man then takes her up, and since she was still a child around teenage years, he sets her up with his adoptive parents to live the same privileged childhood he once did. In this presentation, I'm going to be depicting the first episode, which is the pilot episode. The pilot episode usually sets the tone of the entire TV series, and since this TV series is 6 seasons long, this major first episode is very crucial. The major themes that are present in this first episode alone are class, gender, and race. We also see multiple intersections of all three as well. Within the first couple minutes of this episode, Supergirl is introduced as a side character, as Superman's cousin. This is often very prevalent in society, as women are undermined in their character and in their roles. Tying Supergirl's character and identity with Superman, this addresses the stereotype that women in any leading role need a man as support for their representation, as if tying your identity to them automatically upscales you in the hierarchy of social status. In this first episode alone, we also see women versus women interactions on a hierarchy scale and on a racial scale. These two themes are shown in two main characters of this episode. One is her boss at work, and the other one is with her adoptive sister Alex, whom she was raised up with after she landed on Earth. Multiple stereotypes are also referenced and shown in this one episode, such as the damsel in distress and the repetitive comments undermining women's strength and intelligence. Diving into women versus women interactions, the first interaction that's shown is between Alex and Kara. So even though they grew up together, race does play a big factor within their relationship. Throughout the episode, Although Kara is well adapted to modern-day society, she still expresses that she wants to search for her purpose in life. Within one incident that happened was that Alex boarded a plane and her plane was hijacked and was about to crash. Upon seeing this on the news, Kara ran to the rescue and ended up saving the entire plane and the crew. This heroic act was witnessed by all of the passengers on the plane and the media as well. After that moment, Kara recalls to Alex that this was her purpose, to use her powers for good and to help others. Kara, after all, was an alien being. She had superpowers just like Superman, with flying abilities and super strength. She also had X-ray vision, seeing abilities. Upon Alex hearing Kara's excitement, she continued to discourage her from pursuing her purpose. She continued to state that it would be too dangerous for her to show herself like this. The term "like this" emphasizes otherness, as she continues to emphasize Kara's identity and her capabilities, in a negative tone. After all, whose sister would stop them from reaching their full potential? In a scene after their fight, Alex comes to Kara's apartment and tries to apologize. She says, "Before you came to live with us, I was the star. But how could I compete with you? Someone who could actually touch the stars. You feeling like less made me feel like more." This statement within itself displayed Alex's bias towards Kara, that she had always felt some type of way about Kara due to her race. At work, we see this pattern continue, but on a social class status scale. Kara works at a multimedia company, and her boss is also a woman of richer class status. The majority of the office space are white men, and Kara, being one of the very few women in the company, is assigned as the assistant of the CEO. Yet, instead of actual office tasks being given to her, she is given lunch and errand tasks. The CEO disregards her and respects male employees actually more than Kara. She orders around Kara like a maid rather than as an assistant. This is primarily due to Kara's class, as the CEO continues to reference her cheap clothes in many different instances. In another scene, specifically the day after Supergirl was being aired on the media, the CEO decided to brand her, and that's when the term Supergirl emerged. Upon hearing this, Kara was furious and decided to speak with her CEO about it. Kara argues that using the term girl instead of woman actually diminishes the work Supergirl has done. When one calls a woman a girl, it not only undermines their maturity, but their worth as well. Her boss thinks otherwise and continues to correlate all her attributes to the word girl. This displays that the interpretation of the word depends on the experience of the person. While for Kara, it shows immaturity and incompetence and lack of worth, for her boss, it showed the complete opposite. It shows success, beauty, and fame, and so much more. These contrasts of opinions display that class status does play a significant role in how the terms are both used and defined. Now, on the topic of race, we see that despite her alien heritage, Kara has adjusted well to society. This is mainly due to the way she was presented as a white female. Throughout this episode, we see an abundance of white leaders and characters. The only two black men had sideline roles in this episode. One of them was Jimmy, a guy who also works in the office with Kara, and the other one was head of the DOE, which is the Department of Extranormal Operations. While these two characters actually added on to the stereotypes within gender, they also did not contribute as much. We were also given a glimpse of the villain in this episode, and he was a person of color, specifically black. Although he was the major villain, he only had a couple of seconds on the screen, not contributing much to the plot or to the storyline. In contrast to other popular films, we usually see the main villain from the very beginning to the very end. They appear in the major scenes of the film and add on to the plot. Yet here we are neither given a backstory nor screen time. Drawing back to the idea of Alex and Kara's conversation with the topic of the other, in The Other Sociologist by Dr. Zulikia Zeballos, the other is a social identity constructed by the group with the most political power. In this case, the people with the most political power are humans, while the aliens from Krypton and other planets are the others. Kara, from this definition, is part of the other category. And when she was captured by the DEO, she was not only detained but interrogated as well. They interrogated her on what she is rather than the heroic act she's been doing. Her being an alien immediately put her as a threat than a person. She was taken without consent and treated as a lab rat. The agents claiming that this is their way of protecting the country, when Kara is also a civilian in that same country. This is very reflective of our modern day society and how immigrants are also treated within the world. Immigrants are often seen as aliens rather than the contributions they have continued to give to the economy and to the world. Kara, in this case, being one of them. During Kara's teenage years, she was raised in an upper-class family, but as she grew into her adulthood, she became a part of the working class. Due to her lower class, she is also very empathetic of lower-class employees. This can be seen in one instance when the CEO, Grant, decides to tell Kara that she is going to be destaffing one of her branches. Kara, having heard that, displayed her empathy and compassion, stating that the hardworking employees and lower-class families wouldn't have any source of income anymore. While that became the biggest concern to Kara, her CEO didn't seem to care. In the workforce, she is often overlooked and dismissed despite her efforts. After the appearance of Supergirl on TV, Grant called on a team meeting where everyone was given a task. Hearing this, Kara was excited not only to help, but to help cover her case. Yet, after she was done assigning tasks, she told Kara to go get her a lettuce wrap instead. This displays one of Kara's biggest struggles, the struggle to be taken seriously. Going back to the contrast of opinions Kara and Grant had with the term Supergirl versus Superwoman, after Grant was finished making her point, she stated to Kara that as anything less than, then it is due to her personal interpretation of it. Then she proceeds to tell her that she's going to be fired from the company for simply stating her opinion in a respectful manner. This is sadly very reflective of our society. How, despite having reasonably good opinions, you'll get fired just for going against the higher-ups. Now, with the topic of gender, there's a lot to discuss. Within the introduction of the episode, it shows a scene where Kara was being saved by her parents from the destruction to protect Superman. They introduced Kara's storyline by stating that her sole mission and purpose was to protect a male figure, rather than creating her own destiny and legacy in another world or planet. This displayed the tone that she was going to be viewed as a form of a shadow for Superman throughout this TV series. Relating back to society, women are often viewed as shadows to their male counterparts. In another scene, Kara cannot contain her excitement anymore and decides to open up to one of her male colleagues about her real identity. She told him to meet her at the rooftop to discuss something very important. Upon telling him that she is Supergirl, he couldn't believe it and made a joke out of it. She tried again verbally to tell him, yet he continued to say, "Yeah, okay." It wasn't until she jumped off the rooftop and flew that he truly did believe she was her. This reinforces the idea that women often have to go above and beyond to prove themselves and their identity and capabilities to men and to society in general. In an earlier scene, we see Jimmy and Kara meeting for the first time. Through their first interaction, it was apparent that Kara was interested in Jimmy. She was hesitant, flustering, and stuttering for most of the conversation. While Jimmy kept a calm and confident demeanor, Kara continued to be love-struck. This scene reinforces the stereotype of how women are often very emotional and very heart-eyed. It goes to show that women are easily vulnerable and flustered rather than men. In the article, The Evolving Portrayal of Female Emotions, this stereotype is recalled. One of the stereotypes that has been used to suppress the expansion of female characters in the past has been the thought that women are inherently more emotional than men, have a harder time controlling these feelings than their male counterparts, and are thus unfit for center stage on their various super teams. For Kara, this has been an apparent stereotype in that scene. Within the class of gender, we also see women uplifting other women. In one instance with Kara and Alex's conversation against racial bias, Alex ended up admitting her biased feelings and gave Kara the support she needed to fully and authentically be herself, to truly embrace her powers and her identity and become Supergirl. At the opposite end, we also see women's strength being underrated by men. In one instance, Captain Hank of the DOE states a degrading statement. He says, "Nothing screams covert operation like a flying woman in a red skirt." This degrading comment not only attacked her appearance as a woman, but also her capability and her strength. Because at the end of the day, he won't be talking to Superman in the same tone, nor would he be talking down on his outfit in a degrading manner. In the talks of costumes, after Kara decided to go through with her heroic acts, she began to think about a costume to wear. Her male colleague that she confided in about her identity decided to help with that too. In the picture shown above, this was the costume that he came up with. When Kara expressed her discomfort, he stated that he didn't realize anything was wrong with the outfit. For reference, her colleague is a straight heterosexual man. And with this costume being his first choice, this reinforces the stereotype that the male gaze is held very highly on the scale, that it is normalized to sexualize women's clothing, despite the occasion in this case being a superhero costume. In the article, The Evolving Portrayal of Female Emotions, it is said that criticism has been fairly aimed at the industry for historically catering to the male gaze at the expense of taking the strength of its female characters seriously. Like I've mentioned earlier, Kara's biggest struggle was to be taken seriously, both as a superhero and in the work environment. Since this costume was specifically put together by someone in her work environment, it then just reinforces the idea that she is not taken seriously in her office space. In another instance, we see her strength also being diminished in the presence of a man. When she was discussing the term Supergirl versus Superwoman with her CEO Grant, she was about to get fired. Yet when Jimmy came in, he ended up deflating the situation. He charismatically uplifted the tension and faked the achievements of capturing a clear image of Supergirl. After hearing this, Grant was immensely pleased and decided to not fire Kara. After the situation had been over, Kara did express to Jimmy after that she did not need him to save her. He disagreed and doubted that she would even know how to handle the situation without him. This dialogue reinforces the damsel in distress, that women, superhero or not, need a man to save them. which is in fact very distasteful in a female leading film. Exploring the intersection of all three categories, our first instance is when the male captain of the alien operations and the male villain within the episode are both of different classes and different races, yet the one thing they have in common is that they both continue to make degrading and sexist comments towards Supergirl. Captain Hank said, "If you want to help, go back to getting someone's coffee." While the white male villain in the episode said, "On my planet, females bow before males." He also stated later on in a fighting scene that fighting Superman, him, would be an honor. Fighting you is just exercise. The idea of sexism is also seen as a prime theme throughout this episode. Everything degrading that was said to Supergirl wouldn't be said to Superman. All the opportunities that she didn't get to have or didn't receive would be given to Superman and has been. For example, when Superman decided to reach his potential and use his powers for good, no one told him that it would be too dangerous and that he should stop to protect himself. They instead commended him for his heroic acts and praised him. But for Supergirl, that's all she heard, that she was not capable nor strong enough to deal with that. Even during a mission to stop the villain in the episode, Agent Hank was very unsure that she would even save the day. He stated that she's simply not strong enough, and her sister Alex called out the sexism and said, "Why? Is it because she's a girl?" But then surprisingly said after, "It's exactly what we were counting on." So at this point, the sexism is seen from both sides, from both the men and the women, despite their class and their race. But despite this, it gives Supergirl a reason to keep on fighting and to keep on going. In the beginning, we see her choose to not reveal her true identity and turn down the fame. This can be tied into her lower class status and her woman mindset of fitting in, as women in society are often told to fit in rather than to outshine. Women are taught to mold and to fit in certain lines and to not deviate from these certain shapes. Yet with Supergirl, upon hearing the sexist and degrading comments, she decided to prove them wrong. And that has been one of her motivational drives, other than helping people, to be as heroic as she can. She displays the concerns and the struggles of an average girl in the modern day society, the comments that come with it, and the tones that come with it as well. Judgments are coming in from both sides and all major classes. Yet the driving force for character development is within. Supergirl continues to achieve heights as she filters out the negative comments and undertones. She displays that whether the whole world is against you and your capabilities, it is your mind that is with you. It is only your voice that needs to be heard in a noisy and judgmental world. At the end of the episode, it shows her flying throughout her city and accepting her new identity as Supergirl. And with a shocking plot at the end, it has been revealed that the true villain is Kara's aunt. Vengeance and power fuel her, as after learning her niece had survived the destruction of planet Krypton, she plans to kill her. The most common similarity that we've seen in all of the classes is that the villains at the end of the day are all somehow related to the main superhero, displaying that hate destroys all relationships, family or not, and is the true villain. Thank you.